Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is Firoz Manji from Daraja Press. Welcome to Perspectives on Organizing in the Time of COVID. Today, I have a wonderful guest, Anamela Lemos from Mozambique, who is a long-standing environmental justice activist and founding member of, I think, Justicia Ambiental, which was founded in 2004. And she's on the board of directors since then. She's been a prize winner of a Mozambican National Environmental Prize in 2005. And for many years, she has been really active on this whole issue of environment. I've invited her today to talk about what I think is a really important report, which was published recently in combination with Friends of the Earth International. And what is happening, it seems that Annabella, first of all, welcome. It's so good to have you on the show. It seems to me that this is something quite disastrous. From my understanding, they've discovered over the last few years in Mozambique, Cabo Delgado up in the north, about 5 trillion cubic meters of gas, making this what, the 9th largest gas reserve in the world? And they're talking about an investment of something like 60 billion US dollars, which is the largest investment ever made in Africa. And it's, in a context of COVID, where the amount that's required is more than half of what would be required to deal with the coronavirus scandal. Tell me, give us an idea about what exactly has happened and who's been involved.
Thank you, Firoz, for inviting me and Ja, of course, I'm representing Ja. And to start with, when we heard about the discovery of the gas, for some of us was like the worst news you could ever hear, because our view on gas, oil, and coal is that they should be on the ground. We living in a climate crisis, and we do believe that the only solution to decrease those impacts already are feeling in the world, it is to stop all fossil fuels exploration, production, and phase out to a most friendly energy system. So we heard that, and as civil society advocates, we start talking and raising the issue how bad it is. Not only the issue of climate change, but as everyone know, the resource curse that happen mostly on our South countries in Africa and South America and Asia. And we have examples of it. So we raise our voice, and of course we are called until development, until government, and until everything that could possible be called. And we start talking to the communities to tell them not accepting the investments, of course, their voice are not heard like happen. So governments start liaise with international company and international investors, and very behind the doors contracts were made, not much involvement of organizations like Ja. Others have a stronger view on those issues. And in the end, the contracts are made of billions. There's so many zeros that we just lose on the middle of them. So, and everything we say that happen. And this, the report we released was a very good partnership with France, because probably you know that in countries like Mozambique, information it's very difficult to get. Even information that by our constitution is the right of to be in public, we don't get. Whenever we send letters, we ever go to the court to ask information about management, environmental management of industry like coal and things like that, and they don't give to us. It's like year after year after year. So in this report, what is very important, it's highlight, sorry for my broken English, highlight what everything behind the big business and government and corruption, because even before the contracts were given to the companies that are taking over the province of Cabo Delgado, like Total and Adarco, so many that sometimes I just lose some names of them, but it's many of the biggest companies in oil and gas. So when this report, a partnership we did with France, we brought our inland experience on the ground and everything we studied and went through the year impact, the year that was done here, and we see the livelihood of the peasant community and the fishermen deteriorate to the point they are surviving. They don't have food to eat. And comparing with what happened even before that, I don't know which way to say, but the debt that we had in Mozambique, the illegal debt, the hiding debt that suddenly came out to the public, all this were even before contracts are done. And it's very strange because you are at a time, we're living in a country that was peaceful, some problems between the two parties, but there was no war in Cabo Delgado. We could travel everywhere. And then suddenly our government needed to buy boats to protect the coast. Okay, we have illegal fishing from the Chinese, but that they don't do anything. They actually do in front of everyone and no one does anything. But then suddenly this happened, and then we ended up finding out that all that was the view of the gas and the contracted gas. Because now in Cabo Delgado, people lost their land. Fishermen, they don't have access to the sea to fish. They gave houses, they relocate the people, and without, we believe we have the right to say no when we don't earn something that is going to completely change our life. Second thing that happened, they just all start in 2017. And I don't know, we didn't study in depth what's going on, but Cabo Delgado was a province with a bit high levels of poverty, education, and health systems, as most of Mozambique. But Cabo Delgado, maybe because it's the last province of the country, the northeast province, it was more affected. And this created insatisfaction on the people, and it was easily led by whatever they want to call. For us, it's how can I say in my English broken? Something that goes pair in pair with the gas and oil exploration. We see that in Nigeria, you see in other places of the Africa, Asia, and it's not something that we invent the wheel. It is, and only, with my apologies, only idiots don't see that, or greedy people, they want to think about business above everything. So now the situation is so bad, people are fleeing. And before even that come to this point, this year was horrible what's going on. Last year, there was one village, the terrorists or criminals attacked, and then the people, the communities all fled to the village. A week after, they come back to the village. And when they came back, Total was there. Their land was already lost. Okay, they relocated, but there were many of them didn't want to go, because the most difficult people to be relocated, and they didn't want, was the fishermen. For them, their livelihood is the sea. If you put them inland 15 kilometers, what are they going to do? Even if they have a house given to them, like they say, we can't eat ours. We need to produce our food. We have our culture, plus the culture, plus everything that goes together to, your life being all your life there. Parents, grandparents, you have your land, you have your culture, you lose everything. And even the family stretches. There's so many conflicts now.
So help me understand.
Sorry if I talk too quickly.
No. We're talking about a situation of what's been called terrorist activities going on in Cabo Delgado. What's the relation between that and this French acquisition of gas on the beaches and shores of Mozambique in Cabo Delgado?
The only opinion we have, it's the rising of the insatisfaction and the ore was coming at the same time that the gas started becoming a done business and relocation started coming and all the mega infrastructure started being prepared. The relation between the French and the war that's going on or terrorism, we didn't find yet. We only think it's crime and whatever reasons it's, I don't know, I don't want to go into deep, but the relation is that in our report, it's written and we have proofs of it because, as I say, it's a partnership between the Friends of the Earth, French and us, that the French government lent the money to Mozambique to buy boats supposed to be for fishing, tuna fishing, and then they ended up 4 or 5 or some of them being turned into defense boats to patrol the coast of Mozambique. And we think that was already connected. We don't know. As public, we not see anything. When that scandal came out, we find out. And now, with all this research, we find out that was what we think a way to have the government holding, due to the debt, due to all the corruption. Of course, there's no corruption if there's no someone to corrupt someone. So it's like French was very clever to turn those things in a way they are now the biggest investors in Cabo Delgado. And we know Total, Shell, and all those companies, what they represent and what they do to get whatever they want. There's no principles. There's no thinking. All their nice word is just a bunch of rubbish. I'm sorry,
In your report, you talk about private armies, private security. Can you say a little bit more about that? And what's their relationship with the French?
There was this year and end of last year, we start seeing like mercenaries coming to help the army, the Mozambique army. It was the first of the Russian. There was some military equipment from the French, and then was the South African mercenaries. So we don't know exactly much about. All we know is what we see, photos are taking, and information we get back doors. But there is some connection. And there's another thing that we write on a report, and actually at this moment, those journalists are case court from the government against those journalists that came out and said there was a contract with private members of the Mozambique government. They received money from Total and other companies, all the companies they are there, to protect them, to protect their business instead of protecting the people, because we are not a big army. If the army going to focus on protecting the companies, the people are not going to be protected for sure, and the people are complaining of that. So there was this secret contract, and the journalists come out and told the story at the media. Now those 2 journalists are having a case court because they told, they gave information that was in defense of the country. So that's a very bad case, because they're saying that is a secret of state and they should not ever be a public. I think it's rubbish, because that's not something legal. And then they find out that the accounts that the money were deposited are contractors of people from the government, not in the defense account or anything like that. So this situation now, it's in a court, but it happened. We don't have any feedback from the other side, from the companies, because they just close and they didn't say anything. It is play of ball, ping pong type of game that we use in Mozambique. You go to the government and you ask, he says it's nothing to do with you. Go to the company says, no, it's not our responsibility. This is a government issue we can't talk about. So in this situation, other than us publish, we don't know much. And what we see, the helicopters and some other army equipment that came in, it's not as we didn't had, and for sure it does prove that it was from the French government. But of course, it's just...
Sorry. Yeah. Continue,
no, it's okay.
No, okay. I mean, you started this conversation by talking about the climate crisis, which Mozambique has had 2 major flooding and torrential rain, which has destroyed large parts of the country. In that context, why is this? How come, when even the French government recognized the importance of environment and so on, why is it that now we have this exploitation of fossil fuel on an unprecedented scale?
I think it's just corporation and greedy and government corruption. Because I'm sorry, I forgot to switch off my phone. Okay. My apologies. It's off.
Yes, you were saying about corporation greed and...
Yes, because we know we don't agree with the Paris Agreement. Just to start with, many bad things came out, but the only good thing that came out of the Paris Agreement is agreement that fossil fuels need to phase out. For us to tackle climate change, no fossil fuels. So, for me, any country that thinks on investing now of fossil fuels is not thinking about anything else other than themselves or the greediness. And I can't understand. That's a fight we climate justice activists are fighting, and even scientists and academics, because we don't understand. We should just stop all fossil fuels. But our government thinks that the North countries develop because of gas, because of oil, because of coal. So why not we develop the same patch? But it's understanding that it's a wrong patch. It may be for the time on the 40s and the 50s or whatever, that the people didn't understand the whole context of impacts they're going to have. But now we know. We have the science behind us. Why you want to follow steps of something that was wrong? It's proven wrong. For me, as a woman being an activist, I don't understand. I think government should be for the people and to do what the people want. But our governments now, not only Mozambique, many other governments, are not thinking that way. They only think about themselves and how richer they can get, how to compete to the North countries instead of seeing the way we are, our culture, our tradition, and maintain that. You know, there's so much good example in Mozambique to tackle climate change, and they're destroying the good we have to bring foreign ideas, foreign investments to our country that we don't need. And it's going to increase emissions for Mozambique, and it's going to increase emissions for all over the world, of course. And we are in the front side of the impacts. As the IPC report stated that Mozambique is one of the countries going to be hugely affected. And it's already happened. The cyclone, Idaï was one that we never had. I grew up having cyclones, and was many bad ones that losing lives and everything, but never like that. It's such an intensity, and now so many things happen at the same time. At the same time, the days before the Idaï, there was a flood on the rivers that destroyed thousands of lives that no one spoke about, because the rivers suddenly broke barriers and everything. And then we had another one in few months in Cabo Delgado. And those examples, I think, should be something that will make our governments wise. More when you have a government that are the revolutionaries, the one that fought for the independence. what the hell is going on? That's the question. It's a question that you do, Firoz, that I cannot answer, because even as the ones that believe and fought for independence, or ever is just supporting, or ever going to, and coming to the situation that see our leaders doing the worst thing ever imagined. And another bad thing that's happened in Cabo Delgado, it's also the way the army mistreated the communities. A lot of violations of human rights happen. People are afraid. We have a local a worker in Palma, one of the places that the companies are there, and we need to take him out of Palma with the family and take him to another province. And we're trying, even ourselves, to go there. It's like last time the team that when they had to fly, like by car is near. We could not go by car, we had to fly. So all this is happen, and our government doesn't do anything. Actually, the other way around. We are in meetings in the middle of with the communities in the middle of all that's happened, and the government people, the administrate and people like that come and demand to stop the meeting. And we have to stop, not because of us, because we go back to the city, but the community is going to stay there. And if we don't stop the meetings, like some communities say, no, carry on. But if you don't stop those people that say carry on with the meeting, they're going to be receiving treats and things also that happen, we know, because we work in many provinces. So that question, Firoz, it's a question. A question should be what we have as governments, as leaders in this world, actually. What happened for us to arrive at my age, at least, to arrive, and all the hope and everything we had in the beginnings of 60 to 70s, all the independence in Africa and everywhere, what happened? What happened to all of those ideals? I would like to have the answer.
And you're talking about many, many people losing their livelihood. The fisher folk, the farmers, and so on. Do you see any signs of a beginning of organizing amongst farmers, amongst small farmers, amongst fishermen, and so on? Is that something that is beginning to happen? I mean, we are facing a new form of colonialism in this sense, taking over of land and so on.
Yes, it's a new form of colonialism, because what was colonialism? What happened, you come, you take the land from the people, you destroy everything they have, even their culture and everything, and you take your resources out of the country. There's no gain. And if the exploration didn't finish before the end of the gas that exists and everything, if that didn't happen, we would live with pollution and lives destroyed, culture completely forgotten. And in the beginning, when you start going there, even before this start, was a bit of starting the getting together and create a movement and complaining and raising issues. There's still a few of them, but the war destabilize completely. That's why we think there's a lot to do with the war and not happen, because suddenly the daily surviving and being scared to what happened, they don't have time to think anything else. There are people that every night go to the forest to sleep and then come back in the morning. And it's every week 2-3 attacks in a village. They're destroying everything. There's one village, Musimba da Praia, they destroy everything. There was not one infrastructure standing by. And then if you raise your voice, like happened to one of the cases that you're trying to follow up, and maybe even thinking about make a complaint to the Human Rights Commission or whatever, it's that there was this uprising of communities, and they went to the military, and they say they are treating them bad, and they're supposed to be there to protect them. So they complain about how one of the person that was more voicely, a community member, disappeared. We don't know, the family don't know, we in contact to them and say, because sometimes what happened, they run away. Like to another one that we knew. He ran away for 2 weeks, and we panic, and then suddenly came back, because they think if they run away, things will slow down and they come back. But we don't know. It's already a month past and we don't know anything about. And this is not one case. This is the ones we know. There's many more that we don't know firsthand. We heard. And it makes you so much audience care about your life that the only important thing is surviving. Any means, and that's, I can criticize something, but then when I go there and see how the reality is, we can't think about anything. And I understand the feeling, it's very sad.
And I mean, are there not parallels between what is happening in Cabo Delgado and what Renamo did in the south to occupy areas where they destroyed the health infrastructure, schools, and so on, and instilled fear in people?
We have a very long story of abuses and violations. First, the colonialism, then the war, because during the war, it was horrible what happened to communities, and then the Renamo War. Yes, they did that, but not at this extent. And 2013, I think about in 2008, war started in Mozambique. There was this fraction, and then between part of the south of Mozambique, there were war, and we will travel with risks, but they avoid focus on the peoples and the community. They will attack when, like, they know that a bus was coming with military and things like that. They have information. I don't know how they will attack. And of course they make a big issue. But what's happened now? It's horrible. I don't know. During the 16-year civil war, yes, horrible things happen. But now, I don't know. It's a lot of cruelty. The way they do, they cut ears, they burn bodies, they kill people. There are films going on that I come to the point I can't see anything more. And I don't share because, it's so horrible, that, and it's, as I said, it's our people is been suffering from one thing after another, it doesn't stop. And that also makes you weak in trying to fight when you have age that you see so much and you see, okay, now is this one, now is this. It's always something to take something from them, whatever is land, life, their wives, abuses, everything, and it affects you, and you lose the spirit of fighting and trying to fight whatever forces come here with all this scenario. It's a sad situation.
So tell me a little bit more about situation in terms of coronavirus, in terms of COVID, and how that's playing out in this context.
The first case in Cabo Delgado, the first case in Mozambique was traveling in, and the first case in Cabo Delgado was a worker of Total. We don't know if he's a French or he's another worker, but it came from Total. So they find out, and they close the compo, or whatever they call but the cooks and the cleaners carry on in and out. So suddenly the virus was spread all over the province, even in the capital of Pemba. It was one stage was the most cases of COVID are exactly in Cabo Delgado. And as we say, we wrote a letter complaining to Total and say that it's criminal, because you should be conscious, whatever work of Total, that our health conditions in the country, we don't have hospitals. Private clinic is only for rich people or international people, and then you don't take, safe measures to avoid that this happen. This is a simple thing that they could be avoided, and they don't care. And then, of course, Cabo Delgado started being the number one province with 2/3 or more, one stage of the cases. And then, because of the war, the province next to Cabo Delgado, it's Nampula. And people usually, they flee from Cabo Delgado to the city. And if they have family in Nampula, like our worker, they flee to Nampula. So Nampula today is the number one province with case. And all related to the first person that brought the COVID to Mozambique. Because if you don't mix, if you don't travel like us, our work is a lot in a country. We avoid travel. because we know there are some communities they don't mix with anyone, and if they are there, they much better without us going there and taking our risks to them. And exactly that's what they did. They didn't care. They didn't think that this could happen. And now it's Nampula and Cabo Delgado. And of course, because people are migrants, people have family in all province, and they don't know if they have the virus is spreading to the Sud. And the Sud, there's a few cases. They're increasing, of course, because of the borders of South Africa and the border of Malawi, Zimbabwe and Malawi, because what happened is that trucks and import-export are coming in and out. And that's another way of contamination. And that goes back to what we think, that if you support our peasant community, if the government support, like after independence, Samora Machel, the most important thing for him was the peasant communities, the food that will bring to the cities. And this government doesn't think that way. And it's the same people that were in the government. So they think about agribusiness. So now most of our goods has to be imported from South Africa, and then this transport carry on. There's no stopping on bringing things inside the country. And this is increasing the risk of our people. And let's face it, we don't have enough clinics or even hospitals or doctors to take care if this increases, like in South Africa. Even South Africa is having a big problem. I think we are really worried what can be if this increases. We took a while to the numbers increase. Cabo Delgado and Nampula went, and suddenly from 600 we over 1,000 cases and 2 or 3 deaths. But of course, the information is not very reliable, so we can have more cases and we don't know. So it's quite scary.
So can you say a little bit about the policies of the government for controlling and dealing with the coronavirus?
My opinion, it's the government took too long to close the airports. So by the time that they closed, there's already cases here. And then we went to an emergency state, level 3, that allows you to go to work, but at work you have to see the number of people that can be at the office, allows restaurants and everything open until 5 o'clock, doesn't allow you to go to the beach or do sports or things like that. But they forgot, school closed, and that's another big problem. And they thought most schools that can afford and have the parents that can teach the kids is fine, but there's a lot of poverty, and there's some schools closed completely, and they say the parents to go and take copies, go and fetch at the photocopy place, this place or that, to take photos of your work. Some people, they don't think that they can photocopy. It's priority that having food on a table. So that was a big issue. There's no support whatsoever from the government to deal with the crisis. Plus, you are a country that a lot of street vendors. You go out of your house to the corner, you buy your vegetables, you buy your fruit, and everyone does that. You go to another corner, there's ladies selling food to eat. And that's the way we are, And of course, those people start not having how to do it, because the government started picking on the streets, going to the streets. And in the middle of this chaotic thing in Maputo, we have this old market, a very old market that it came, I don't know how many years. And suddenly they kick out everyone and they close the market, and they say they're going to do distance the stands for them to sell their goods. But of course, this is another land grabbing, but in a city, because the city is becoming too big and there's no place to move forward, And another thing they did in town, all the pavements in town, they're always markets and things like that, they kick out. There was fightings before the coronavirus. The municipality will come and take the people out. They will fight back, throw stones. The following day, they're back to the streets. And now with the coronavirus, they really kick them out. And I don't think it's fair, because those people don't have other ways of surviving. And this is all covered like there's no problem, but it is a huge problem. We're trying to see how can we deal with it. And then after the third month, we went 1 month after another, carry on. But suddenly, they lost communication. Everything is the same. Schools can open. Schools can open. Just a minute. Schools can open. Someone wanted to come in. Schools can open. And that's when you are in the house.
Of course.
And I tried to go to the place with not too many people, but anyway, schools are open, and people are very upset because this feeling that yes, the kids need to learn, but at the same time, there's no conditions. It's a school of health and hygiene, so this is going to be another way of spreading the virus. And another problem that I was shocked, and I think we talking to a few civil society organizations to see if you made a statement. The government allow some flights for business. In the middle of the SoCal, they are trying to make business, and because we cannot have public meetings, we don't know. If we didn't know a lot, now we're gonna know much less, because how can you know who arrives and what business they're going to sign or do for us to react or do something? Plus, there's no public meeting. They're going to go to a community. COVID time. You can't have a meeting. You have 4 people. You invite the corrupt ones to sign, and everyone loses the land. And that's what we worry at this moment, the bigger worries. It doesn't look nice, and I don't think anyone is worried about it. Anyone in a way in the state. It's not a very nice view that I'm showing you.
And that's the context in which $60 billion US have been spent on gas exploitation. I mean, it's something like 50 times the amount collected by the UN to fund the reconstruction of Mozambique after the cyclones Kenneth and Idaï in 2019. And it really is quite shocking what is being done, and in the situation of coronavirus, it distracts the funds away from that. And I think it's an interesting point that you make, that employees of these transnational corporations are the ones responsible for originating and spreading the coronavirus. Really is a depressing situation. Well, Annabella, I'd like to thank you really for taking time to talk with us today. And I think it's really important to highlight this really critical report, Gas in Mozambique, a windfall for the industry, a curse for the country, which has been produced together with Friends of the Earth, Les Amis de la Terre in France, and yourselves at Justicia Ambiental. Really, thank you so much for your time today. And I wish you all the strength and courage in these struggles in the coming period.
Thank you, Firoz, for inviting me. And I just want to leave a message. If anyone thinks gas bring anything good from Mozambique, they're eluding themselves, because they only be poverty, land grabbing, and now war. So it's no gain for the people at all.
Indeed. So, well, thank you for joining us, Annabella, and I hope we'll be in touch again soon.
Thank you, Firoz. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right. Good. That was Annabella Lemos from Justicia Ambiental in Mozambique, talking about this recent report on gas in Mozambique, a windfall for the industry, the corporations, a curse for the country. This is Firoz Manji signing off for today. Well, for this morning, in a moment I will be having a discussion with colleagues from Bulawayo in Zimbabwe about the situation of organizing in the time of COVID. So for the moment, I sign off and wish you all the best.
Thank you.